What is up guys, AshBFC here bringing you a quick review for Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2. And that rhymed. Awesome. So as a long time fan of the Castlevania series, and especially considering the fact that I really enjoyed Mercury Stein's first crack at a Castlevania game, being the original Lords of Shadow, I was really looking forward to this one. I had some pretty high expectations. So overall, I thought the game was good, I definitely enjoyed it, but I would be lying if I said I wasn't left a little bit disappointed. So the game continues and is the conclusion of the Lords of Shadow story, putting you back in the role of Gabriel Belmont, who this time around is now the Prince of Darkness himself, Dracula, making this the first Castlevania game in the series to actually allow you to play as Dracula, which was definitely the thing I was most excited for with this game. So in a nutshell, the story sees Dracula waking up after one long ass sleep, and he actually wakes up in the present day, putting the game in a modern world setting. So after he wakes up, he's made a promise that if he stops the uprising of Satan, he will be given his one wish, which is for his eternal rest, which is something he can't achieve himself, considering the fact that he's immortal. And I'll leave the story there for spoiler's sake. So I'm just going to keep this very simple. I'm just going to do the good and the bad, you know, what I liked, what I didn't like, and I'm going to start off with what I liked. So first thing, the graphics. I thought it was a pretty visually impressive looking game. I am saying this playing the PC version, I can't speak for the console versions, but it looked very, very nice, some great artwork, some great details, some pretty cool looking locations, and overall just a pretty nice looking game. And a pretty nice sounding game as well. It's got a really good orchestrated soundtrack that's very, very fitting and just overall pretty awesome. So my favourite part of the game, and definitely I think the game's main strength, is indeed the combat. It's a ton of fun, very, very solid. You got a whole bunch of different cool enemies to take on, and of course being Dracula this time, it brings a few new abilities. So you got your basic Blood Whip attack, which works very similar to the whip we saw in the first Lords of Shadow game. You also got a Void Sword, which is a weapon that allows you to regain your health upon attacking the enemy with. You also got your Chaos Claws, which are best suited for enemies with heavy armor or even shields. And as you progress, you unlock a few new cool abilities as well, such as the ability to throw a swarm of bats at your enemy. And you can upgrade all your moves and abilities, and, you know, like I said, plenty of stuff to unlock. And all around, you know, the combat is very, very fun, and I definitely enjoyed it. The camera's also fully 3D this time round, whereas in the first Lords of Shadow game, it was at a fixed angle. You also have a cool new way to finish off enemies Dracula style, which involves you grabbing hold of the enemy, sinking your teeth into the neck, sucking their blood, and watch them explode into a bloody mess, which is always satisfying. I also really enjoyed the boss fights in this game. There were quite a few of them spread across the game and they were all definitely enjoyable. They provided a decent challenge, they all looked pretty cool, and yeah, they were definitely fun boss fights, and a couple of really memorable ones in there as well. And I am a sucker for boss fights, so yeah, I definitely enjoyed all the boss fights in this game. I also really enjoyed and appreciated the level of violence in this game. They've really cranked it up a level compared to previous titles in the series. It's pretty violent. There's no shortage of blood in this game. In fact, there's quite a lot of blood. I mean, one scene sees you chop an entire enemy boss in half, which is awesome. There's pools of blood all over the place, there's throat slits, there's impaling, and one guy even gets his face ripped off. So yeah, I was all for that, and I definitely enjoyed the violence. Nice and bloody. Now for the things that I wasn't too keen on with the game. So first off, the story. Now, I didn't think the story was bad by any means, but it was a little bit underwhelming. I mean, it had its moments, there were some fun parts in it, some cool scenes and stuff. But, I don't know, considering the fact he was playing as Dracula, and it was the final game in the Lords of Shadow series, I just think it was a little bit underwhelming. I think there was some serious potential, you know, as Dracula for an awesome story to be told, but yeah, it wasn't really anything special, and you know, it was a little bit underwhelming, a little bit disappointing. But like I said, by no means bad, I just expected a little bit more. I wasn't exactly satisfied by the ending either. I also wasn't too keen on the modern day settings. Now, most of the game does take place in Dracula's castle, so it looks and feels all Castlevania, and that's all well and good. But when you often find yourself out on the streets, it does feel a little bit weird, you know, seeing traffic lights and roads and street lamps and news reports. It just felt a bit weird, you know, in a parking lot with cars there. I don't know, it just felt out of place, and quite a few moments throughout the game where I forgot I was playing a Castlevania game. I'd much rather just kept it traditional Castlevania settings. I mean, it could have been worse. It wasn't super crazy like you're walking down a high street and, you know, you've got a Marks and Spencer's, a Starbucks and a friggin' Tesco's across the road. But like I said, I'd much rather they just kept it traditional Castlevania settings. But, you know, it wasn't awful, just a bit weird. I think the game also suffers from a few pacing issues. I mean, the prologue when the game starts, it's awesome. The game really does kick off with a bang, really gets you going. But then it quickly sort of fades out a bit, and it kind of gets really slow and drags a bit and takes a while to pick up. And there's also a few interruptions, annoying interruptions throughout the game, which were my least favourite parts, the goddamn stealth sections. These things annoyed the hell out of me. I think every review's kind of criticised these, and you know, I completely agree, because they're just not fun. They're irritating, they're boring, they're frustrating, and I really did hate these things. There were quite a few of these spread across the game as well, and every time one popped up I was like, oh, for God's sake, not again, why? You often find yourself having to sort of get through a door that's been guarded by maybe 1, 2 or 3 enemies, and if you do get spotted it was pretty much instant fail every time. They'd often have you possessed in the form of a rat and head into ventilation shafts, working your way around, getting behind an enemy, possessing that enemy, then using that enemy to open the door. And they were just annoying. I mean, I'm playing as the Prince of Darkness. I am the almighty Dracula. Why am I sneaking past the enemy? Why am I hiding? I am Dracula. I want to take these sons of bitches head on. I want to sink my teeth into their neck. I want to drain their blood and hope I don't get AIDS. I don't want any sneaking shit. And I sure as hell didn't want to waste any time as Dracula scurrying around as a goddamn rat. I just hated these things. And my absolute least favourite part of the game was, of course, another stealth section that had you having to avoid a boss character by not touching the floor, which was covered in extra crunchy leaves, and you had to use these railings and work your way around to hit a switch to open a gate on the other end. And every time you got spotted it was instant fail, take you back to the start. It drove me absolutely insane. It had me tearing my damn hair out. I mean, I had a full head of hair before that section cropped up. Seriously. It was absolutely infuriating. If you've played the game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. A number of times I just want to switch it off during that and say, never again, never again. It made me want to hate the game. To quote the angry video game nerd, what were they thinking? But you know, those gripes aside, like I said, I still really enjoyed the game. You know, it just was a little bit disappointing. You know, the stealth section did bring it down. I wasn't too keen on the modern setting. And I was thinking there was quite a few missed opportunities, considering he was playing as Dracula. And it just was a little bit disappointing, considering especially as well it was Mercury Steam's last contribution to the series. I just kind of expected quite a lot. I really did think it was coming out with a bang, and that wasn't quite the case. But like I said, I did really enjoy it. But I do think, you know, the first Lords of Shadow game is a better game, but this one's still a great game, and I do think it's worth checking out, and I do recommend it to fans of the first Lords of Shadow game. So yeah, overall, still a great game. Just a little bit disappointing. I think my expectations were a little bit high. So there you go, there's my quick review of Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2. So thanks for watching, guys, and I shall see you in whatever I review next. Later!